you saw nothing. You saw nothing. May the fourth be with you. Shawn here. I am 1/3 of the Bleep You Playing crew, or Bleep Heads. Yeah. And I'm here today to give you a top 5. A top 5 what, you say? Well, Darth Shawn here is going to give you a top 5 Star Wars novels. So of course I couldn't get the rest of my crew here together because I'm the only one that is going to read a Star Wars novel. Let's be honest. I'm the Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars when it's weird. I love it when it's wacky. I love when it's bad. I love when it's good. I kind of just like Star Wars. It's my favorite thing. One of my favorite things. Look, I have hyperfixations. It's all good. It's all good. So without further ado, let's do a top 5. Coming first on our list, well, that is going to be one of the classics of Star Wars. And any Star Wars fan of at least 25, 30 years, you know about Heir to the Empire. Why is that one of my top 5s? Well, it's kind of its iconic nature is why it's one of my top 5. It is my number 5 because there are little things that I can nitpick with it, but the grand story that Timothy Zahn is trying to tell beyond Return of the Jedi, heck, this was our sequel trilogy until the sequel trilogy. There's so many interesting things. Now, George Lucas didn't really care about some of the things, but there's things that they did keep on, and a lot of these things have crept back into canon. Thrawn, Pelion, Rook, I don't know, maybe we'll see Sabayoth one day, maybe even Lauk will make an appearance eventually, but Heir of the Empire is just a great adventure, as we didn't have that until between Return of the Jedi and the prequels. We really didn't have a whole lot, and it was great to have a novel to read, and as the expanded universe would expand, this trilogy is kind of held on to its special place, and that's why it lands a special place in my heart at number 5. At number 4, why, we have our one and only film novelization. That's right, we have the Revenge of the Sith novelization. Now, this is kind of the novelization that is iconic among the fandom because in a lot of ways, even people who didn't love Revenge of the Sith like I do, found themselves really enjoying the novelization as it got deeper into the heads of our characters, and especially as Anakin is turning to the dark side. There's just some great, amazing moments in it. And I think the majority of the film novelizations are actually really good. There's a few not so good ones, but Revenge of the Sith it's the top tier of film novelizations. In fact, that it enhances the movie that you go to watch. And so, that's why it's my number 4. Number 3. Alrighty, I've done a little bit expanded universe, some EU stuff, and I think we need to give some modern Star Wars some love here. Specifically, I think some of the Lucasfilm transition novelizations have been a little rocky. There have been some really good ones, some early ones that were really, really good. Whether or not you like the Aftermath trilogy, I do think it has a lot to offer, even if it is a very flawed trilogy. But I think where Disney's, Lucasfilm's novelizations found their footing is more recently when they started the High Republic, and specifically Light of the Jedi. This book, Charles Soule, but also the whole team have done a lot of this, but this is the one that really, it is so good about setting the universe that we're in. We're hundreds of years before Phantom Menace, times of peace, so you know the villain wasn't necessarily going to be Sith right off the bat, albeit, we'll see with the TV show coming out and more what High Republic's doing, but we knew that the galaxy was not just going to be super peaceful. There had to be things that happened that start to seed the strike that, reverse it, sow the seeds of doubt in the Jedi, especially as we get into the prequel timeline and we see that the Jedi are cut off from the Force. And in a lot of ways, this novel absolutely starts that. It is intense where it needs to be. It has great characters. I want action figures of so many of these characters. Loden Greatstorm is one of the coolest names, but also one of the coolest Jedi, and I'm kind of sad that, spoiler alert, RIP. But I really love the villains. We've got the Nile. We've got Marchion Ro. We've got so many of these other interesting characters that have come and setting the table for what the High Republic would do. And a lot of the High Republic is still really, really good. But I think this book sets it apart for me. It's the one that I go back and read the most. I've at least read it 10 times at this point, and I really, really love this novel. So that's why it's number 3. Continuing along the Disney Lucasfilm path, my number 2 is one of the early release schedules. Actually came out the same day as the first of the Aftermath books. And I remember reading the Aftermath book and being like, well, I was overall disappointed for the most part. I've gone back and reread it, and I appreciate for what it is, even if it's not exactly what I would have done with it. But that's okay. It's still got a thing. But another book came out. Claudia Gray wrote Lost Stars. And this is, Star Wars has been no stranger to romance. There's been romance from the beginning and different levels of it. Sometimes to the creepier or maybe the cringier. But there has been romance throughout Star Wars. And what Lost Stars does is it kind of just strips away what we know in terms of characters, albeit we're going to see a lot of characters we know, but it follows along of 2 people, 2 kids, and how they end up on different sides of this battle. One is working for the Empire, one joins up with the rebels. And it goes all the way from before A New Hope, all the way to the Battle of Jakku. And there's a lot of interesting stuff. Like, this is the first time we really saw the Battle of Jakku. Like, in novel, like, we knew a little bit about it, which would lead into that really cool Force Awakens trailer that had all the, wrecked Star Destroyers across Jakku. And I still hope to eventually get some form of animation or a film of the Battle of Jakku, because I would love to see that. But we've gotten it in writing a couple of times, and I think what this book understands is Star Wars is silly, but it has been a huge part of every Star Wars fan's life. And they have met people. They have fallen in love because of their combined, both of them having a love of Star Wars. And this book, from beginning to end, is just a wonderful romance. It is really good Star Wars. It brings in the characters you know and love in interesting ways. It goes across the original trilogy and intertwines it in that I think about these things when I watch the original trilogy. And all of that is to say, this is a fantastic novel. Should be read, should be any Star Wars fans top tier of their list, and they should to read if you have not read it. But it's my number 2 Star Wars novel. So with all that glowing review of that one, well, I had to have one better. And I'm kind of cheating here. I'm honestly kind of cheating here. I'm picking a trilogy. Now, the first book is personally, I think, my favorite of the trilogy, but I'm going to put all 3 because I absolutely love it. And that is the Darth Bane trilogy. The Darth Bane trilogy by Drew Karpyshyn is just... it is what I love about Star Wars. It is dark. It is weird. It does some crazy Force stuff. It makes the lore bigger. It expands the universe. It brings in characters that maybe are familiar or similar to what we've seen, but does them in different ways. We have the first, I believe this is the first introduction, at least, well, KOTOR existed, but having the light whip, as well as a lot of other cool weapons. The Thought Bomb, a cool force power that we see all the Sith use. We learn about the Rule of Two. We see Darth Bane go just down, this not particularly good guy from the beginning, delve into the deepest, darkest parts of him, and leading to what really means to be a Sith, and kind of leading into Phantom Menace, where we hear the line, "Only 2 there are, a master and an apprentice." And this kind of delves deep into what that means, what that is, going all the way back to Revan, Knights of the Old Republic, and allowing us to learn these things as Bane learns these things, and as he passes it on to his Padawan and the cool powers that you'd see in like the role-playing games and different things. But this is my favorite series. It's my favorite novel. It's my favorite, possibly my favorite character is Darth Bane. I love it. And if you are a Star Wars fan and you have not read it or haven't thought about reading it, I encourage you to go out and read it. They're very cheap. You can get them online very cheap. You can listen to them. The audiobooks are really good. I really enjoy them. I've listened to them as well. This is the book. This is the series. All 5 of these books that I've listed are absolutely worth your time. So check them out, because Star Wars doesn't just extend to the screen. It also is there in the pages. Thank you all for watching, and may the 4th